Hello again, grown black folks talk. Distinctives between the fifth stage of grief, acceptance, and two of the ways that people settle into the fourth stage, depression, and how this affects us as black women in the world. I need to do this video before doing a much harsher one. I have made at least 6 videos and deleted them because I want to do this in a way that is helpful to us. But there's some very hard things that flow from the understanding that Samry Bliss began to share with us, that she put in the comments. And a lot of times we watch the things we watch as black women, we hate watch other people that hate us because we are locked in the first 4 stages of grief. And the first 3 are where the ego is very active. And so we've done some work on that. We've done some thinking about it. We've had some insights and we've shared these insights. The first 3 stages, as I said before, are where the ego is very active trying to change what cannot be changed, because this is grief over a loss that cannot be changed. And for black women, we are dealing with the loss of black love, the loss of the American dream, the loss of community, because reality is very clearly saying we do not have enough active men who are interested in maintaining any of these things. And we cannot carry 2/3 of the community. The data is clear. This is the reality. But before we go into some more very difficult things, I'm about to say things that are going to send all of you through the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, and depression, when you understand the situation we are really in. And you're going to either get to acceptance or not, but not getting to acceptance and settling into the fourth stage is extremely dangerous. A lot of the behavior that we see right now among men in general, uh, you have so many men online that are sitting up talking about, well, I'm just going to check out because I can't get what I want. I'm not going to do anything. This is the fourth stage of depression, settled into despair. Instead of accepting that this is the reality and the rest of the character rescuing the ego and saying the intellect rescuing the ego and the courage rescuing the ego and the fortitude rescuing the ego and saying, okay, that's gone, but look at all this over here that's possible. The visionary portion, rescuing the ego. The rest of the emotion is not willing to be suppressed forever in the state of, and when good it comes into view forever, rescues the ego. And then we get into what's called the fourth stage of acceptance, where the ego can find positive things to do. In the actual reality, that's in the fifth stage. A lot of people are basically just settling down like children. The grief knocks them back to the stage of their life where if I can't win, I won't play, like little children who sit down and have tantrums because they cannot have their way. Some people have settled down into this. So what they do is, since they can't deal with the loss of whatever it is they want, let's just make it the American dream, since the nice picket fits and the adoring wife is not going to be possible, they just settle into coping mechanisms for this. I'm going to deal with my set of vices to help me feel like life is worth somehow living. And when that doesn't work anymore, then I'm just going to ease up out of here. There's a lot of that, particularly among men. But, ladies, if you check it carefully, you also see behavior like that among women too. We're just lagging it a little bit because women are more connected with their children. We know that if we give up, our children are lost. So this behavior lags in women, but it is there. It is creeping up. Uh, it's not something we have a whole lot of data on because single women actually do better than married women in terms of happiness. It's not as obvious. Like I said, it tends to lag because we are built differently. We also are built, we're more communicative with one another and can express our emotions and our feelings. And because we're more connected, we have more opportunities to see opportunity. So sometimes, because we do have better community, it is easier for us to get to the fifth stage of acceptance. Very rarely do I meet women, like I said, it lags in women. Very rarely do I meet women. However, it does happen. And the way that you know this has happened to someone is that when you come along offering people another path to a different kind of life after their loss and their grief, they'll listen to you, but they'll revert right back. Because whatever they're doing to cope with this, what they have accepted is not acceptance. They have accepted that since they can't do what they want to do, they're not going to make an attempt to do anything. They're going to sit right there, cope, and die. That happens to a lot of people. A lot of the end stages of a lot of processes really have to do with that. It boils down to whatever that person does to cope is more to them than the courage and the strength that is going to be to get to the other side. So that's what they choose to do. And eventually it destroys them. It's a sad situation, but there are a lot of people. And I mentioned men because they're the ones talking about, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to attempt to live as I can live, do what I can do, and just live from day to day. I'm not going to even attempt to do anything that is possible except just basically just try to live till I die. That's settling into the fourth stage. That's not moving to acceptance and saying, okay, it is what it is, but this is also what I can do, and I can make different choices and still live powerfully. Those two different things. Because and here's how you know, another way that you know this is going on, and this kind of transitions to the next part, which I'm going to call active despair. Generally, if people are stuck in the fourth stage, if you are able to talk to them and ask them why that they have gotten stuck, it's still going to be so and so's fault. Well, because this person wouldn't do what I wanted, and this person wouldn't do what I wanted, and this person wouldn't do. Those people are still living rent free because they have not let go. Their ego is still engaging in bargaining and anger back there, which is why they have only been in the fourth stage. They have not let go. You meet people, you try to help them, complain, 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 complain. All that energy they're spending complaining, they're in the fourth stage and they're settling right there because now they have a wall of complaining. This is where their ego has recouped its strength to lead the person to their destruction, complain all the way down. However, there's something much more dangerous than this, and that is the state of active despair. Active despair is where anger and depression meld in a very particular way. We also see this a lot in men, but we are beginning to see it in women also. As I have said before on this channel and spent some time covering it, we have two Hitlerians on the manosphere side, and we have one Hitlerian at least on BWE. Now, I don't know the name of the content creator who's out here. Content creators talk about bullet bags. Black men are just bullet bags, but they're in that class of people too. So we've got a fair number of them on both sides. There are bad people. There are Hitlerians on both sides. But this is what I need you to understand about active despair. Since you're gonna talk Nazi talk, let me help you understand something. The world's best known example, I'm gonna give you three and decreasing levels of importance. Adolf Hitler's number one, because he said in 1944, the reality had settled in on him that there was a possibility that Germany may lose the war. And he said, if Germany cannot triumph, she deserves to be destroyed. So already he is setting the mood, setting the tone, setting justification for himself to do what he ordered in 1945. When it became clear that Germany was going to lose the war, and it was not clear till the Steiner Group hightailed to get to the Western lines as fast as possible, he believed they were still coming in up to 2 or 3 days before he died. When they had to tell him that the Steiner Group wasn't coming in, then he realized the war is lost. One of his last orders was that all infrastructure that could be used to maintain life be destroyed so that the enemy wouldn't get it. But what this also meant, because you have to remember what he said, if Germany cannot conquer, she deserves to be destroyed. He ordered Germans to destroy all the things that Germans have left because they deserve no better. Since they could not enact his 1,000-year Third Reich, they deserve to be destroyed. It was one of his last orders. Fortunately, the only man who might have been able to sort of describe himself as Hitler's friend, Albert Speer, turned on him at that point and went around and countermanded these orders. And that left enough infrastructure so that Konrad Adenauer in late 1945 could become the first chancellor of West Germany and build their way out to where they are today. But the active despair of Adolf Hitler has ripples into the world even to this day. Of course, granted, given who he was, the fifth stage of grief means that you're going to end up in Nuremberg and you're probably going to get hung just because, crimes against humanity, that sort of thing. I don't know in a case like that if that was possible. But the point is, this is a man who turned from depression that the war was lost to actively seeking to destroy the people he felt were responsible. And in the end, the people he turned on were his fellow Germans. This is something that most people do not know. And it's something you can find in H.R. Trevor Roper's is The Last 10 Days of Hitler, I think, and also Downfall by Ian Kershaw. And of course, if you want to watch this in movie form, although don't do this at night, Der Untergang, or Downfall. It's in German with English subtitles. You will also find this out as well. That's the world's greatest case. There are others. A particular former president, whose name you may know, received the news on November the 8th after the counts had come out of Georgia, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and I forget the fourth state. It may have been Nevada. He would have needed to win at least 3 of those 4. He didn't. Therefore, he had been defeated by the sitting president, Joseph Robinette Biden. He knew this. We have statements now that are going to be coming into the public record because he's on trial for a lot of stuff. But he decided, instead of accepting that he was lost, to now change it. And as reality continued to try to knock on this man's door, we can understand denial, anger, bargaining, depression. Now, if he wanted to secure a good legacy for himself, he could have been, if he wanted to be the greatest, Donald Trump could have done the greatest turnover of power ever done in history. He could have made it bigly best. You know, his wife's up here talking about be best. It could have been the bigly best turnover ever. Like, show that you have some class. No. What do you choose to do? You choose to lead your followers in wild protests, whip them up online for 2 months so that they can go in and destroy the Capitol. Because if you're not going to control it, you don't care anymore. That's active despair. It's extremely dangerous. Okay, it's come down scale. Let's talk about not caring. There was a gentleman born in San Francisco who, as a child, wanted to be Captain Kirk. Now, as a child, we can understand this. We can understand this, of course. And of course, then, because he had access, very rich man, born from 2 of the most important families in American history, the founders, 2 founding families, has access to go do a number of things, including several paths to become an astronaut, but you have to be a good pilot first, and his eyesight declined. At least that's the story we've been told. But out of respect for the family of Mr. Richard Stockton Rush III, I'm not going to go into that. I will go into what's documented because we had photographs to prove that. There is a documentary by Not the Good Girl called The Hubris of Stockton Rush. And in this, in the first, I only need you to watch the first 10 minutes. He was a member of something called the Bohemian Club. In the Bohemian Club, every year they dressed up in white hoods and robes, and they burned something, but it wasn't a cross on this occasion. It was a coffin, and in that coffin was care. Care for other people. Care for the rest of the state of the world. Now, people think about Bohemian style, boho clothing, for example. What people don't understand about the Bohemians is that these people had absolutely no concern for the niceties of civilization. You know, if Donald Trump had been in that part of Europe, he just would have gotten thrown out a window, and that would have been the end of all that. That's what they tend to do. Kicked off big war. It's a whole story. But the point about the Bohemians is that they just were going to do what they wanted to do. Aleister Crowley's favorite thing to say, do as thou wilt. Satan's favorite thing to say, do as thou wilt, despite what God has to say about it. That was their lifestyle. So you take this young man who has gotten the check of understanding he's never going to be an astronaut. He wanted to be the first man on Mars. He's still introducing himself as an astronaut to this year, the last year of his life, to certain journalists, meaning he has not let this go. But he is combining that with the attitude of not caring about what anybody else has to say about it, and not even caring about reality. No one, it never occurred to him in 61 years of life that you have so much access and talent. He was tall, he was again, my hypergamy and divestment sisters. You're going to be careful out there. Be careful out there. If you don't be careful out there, you're going to get Adolf, Donald, or Stockton. And Stockton was good looking. He was the best looking of that crowd. 61, in excellent condition, tall, 8-figure money, old money. powerful friends. When you watch the documentary, you're going to see some names like Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan were up there at the place, burning the coffin for care, having a funeral for care every day and burning it every year. You wonder a lot about Republican politics. A lot of Republican politicians in the last 50 years were into that. Bohemian Club. Y'all look that up. Be in the description for it. So here you have a man that's going to do what he wants to do. He's going to live his fantasy. He doesn't care about the people that he hurts along the way. Any attempt to bring attention to reality, he considers a personal insult. So that's that anger side. The depression side is here you are still grieving the loss of your dream 40 years down the line, 30, 40 years down the line. You're not able to move past that, but at the same time, you have found some way to have your way. The only problem became for Richard Stockton Rush III, and my condolences to his wife and his children. They are my neighbors. He grew up in San Francisco. He's got family out here. The problem is physics doesn't care that you don't care. It took 4 people with him. And that's the thing with active despair. Active despair does not care about who and what it takes down because it is decided it is not going to accept that loss and it's going to use that anger to destroy anything that stands in its way. Active despair is depression deciding I refuse to go forward and do what reality says that I can. I'm going to make my will happen no matter what. Because I'm still tore up about and I'm not going to complain. I'm going to make things happen. And if I can't have those things happen, I'm going to destroy everything around it till that thing happens, or I will eventually even destroy myself. And I'm going to take as many people as I can with me. Adolf Hitler, Donald Trump, Stockton Rush. Active despair. Well-known cases. Now, before I do my next video, which then brings it home to us, I want you to think about the evidence in the world that those 3 men and the damage. Stockton Rush has done damage to the submersible industry that no one thought possible. Before him, not a single submersible. That's a very small industry. And it's just like, it's not people that quote unquote matter to us. But at the same time, that's a whole industry. He's destroyed the reputation of a whole industry, including 4 people's lives, including everybody that worked with OceanGate that is now gone defunct. So what you gonna do? You gonna roll up to your next job talking, yeah, I was an engineer at OceanGate. What? No, that's not gonna work real well for you. Unless you got out before June 19th. I hate to be the gentleman who out there moving his glue around, sitting up there in an apron. With an apron on like my mom would wear, with a spatula like she's mixing cornbread. And not even remembering to knock the air bubbles out of the side of the pan before putting that in the oven. Because what you're supposed to do when you have carbon fiber and composites is put them in a vacuum and make sure those bubbles come out. You ain't got cornbread making sense, but you're going to get another job. Stockton Rush destroyed all those people. He destroyed his children's right to a father, his wife's right to a husband, his grandchildren's right to their grandfather, and also the other 4 men he took with him. One of them was a pair of fathers and sons. But see, active despair has a funeral for care. It does not care who it hurts along the way. Donald Trump doesn't care about the people that died on January 6th, nor does he care the least bit about the Constitution or the proper working of the country. Active despair does not care. Adolf Hitler went from building Greater Germany to wanting the whole thing destroyed because it could not do what he wanted done. It would not fulfill his vision. This is active despair at work. And this is the concept I want you to think about. And I'm going to give you some hours to marinate on this, maybe a whole day, because I keep trying to make this second video, but I realized, let me set the foundation. If a community that is already in a capitalist society owns the least capital, has enough adult members who go into active despair, what do you think's going to happen? That's your thought to set up for the next video. I said all this about these prominent men. Again, my divestment and hypergamy sisters, get your lives together. You trying to run over there and get you some Adolf, Donald, and Stockton? Get your lives together. Because those two stages of depression, another stage of active, remember I talked about how people just give up and cope. Well, people don't heal and go and try to find someone else in another culture they can go and bend to their will. The passport bros. But see, if you were really over Black women, you wouldn't spend all this time talking about what you're doing. That's another form of destructive active despair. But see here, ladies, as I already mentioned, you got Black women like that we're listening to. And in the next video, I need to talk to you about what's going to happen. Tony Gaskins actually predicted this 2 or 3 years ago. I don't remember what video it was, but we'll get there a little bit later. Y'all have a good day now. Thank you for listening. I know this was a little rough, but see, I made it easy on you. See, it's easy to look down on Adolf Hitler. We know what he did. If you're not a Trump supporter, it's easy to look down on Donald Trump. We know what he did. And it's pretty easy. Stockton Rush, unfortunately, is a meme at this point. But see, we about to go look in the mirror. Get ready. Have a good day anyway. I'll see you later, if you dare. Bye.